Good morning, Metatopia. I am Avonelle Wing. I am part of Double Exposure and part of the crew putting on this convention. I am also the person who recorded the panel that got eaten by the tech gods. So I am here to host Tea with Avie. People will pop in or out as they want to. And I'm hoping that people will have questions and we can talk about industry things. If people want to pick my brain, that's great. And so as people come in, I'm going to have them introduce themselves and then tell me one sentence about themselves. So, Brendan, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, I'm Brendan. I'm a student at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and I'm helping Double Exposure with this event. I'm a game design student. I should have said that. So I'm here for a reason. That's me.
Jack?
I'm Jack Rosetree. I do a little bit of everything in game design, small RPGs, card games, board games, that sort of thing. I have a talk later on making trash games for love, and I was not aware I was going to be broadcast this morning.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I would have bugged out the instant it became an issue if I knew, but no, I'm excited.
Okay, cool. Hi, Darla.
Hi, I am Darla Burrow. I am an indie designer from Ottawa, Canada. I just put out the zine game, Dear Great Cthulhu, Please Stop Giving Me Superpowers. I was on
Awesome.
the PhD panel yesterday. My cats may appear.
That's awesome. All right. So Jack, tell me a little bit about your favorite trash game that you've made recently.
So one that went over pretty well yesterday that I showed to a publisher is a Venn diagram game called You Don't Know Venn to Quit. And the design goal there was I have this pun and I want to make a game around it. And that was pretty much it.
Right. That's funny.
And the game goes until the person in second place admits defeat by saying, I do know Venn to quit.
That is delightful and also kind of rubbish. Excellent.
Thank you.
Darla, do you want to pitch us on your game?
I was looking at Darla's game yesterday. It sounds super awesome. And I will let Darla explain it because I certainly can't. But
I forgot to mention, I am autistic and use a speech generating device to communicate. So I just need a minute to type it up.
Absolutely. So give me a thumbs up when you're ready to share it with us. Actually, I love that is an option that's available. This is amazing. Brendan, do you have any designs in the work? Have you made any trash games this year?
I don't think I've made any games because I haven't been in school, but me and Lucas were talking about something until like 2 a.m. on the drive back from Gen Con. I've been trying to work on that. So there's that, I guess.
Yeah. Brendan jumped into the deep end and did Gen Con with us this year with the entire like puppy pile out to Gen Con in a van. So it was an experience. So Jack, is there anything that you want to pick my brain about while you have me?
Oh my goodness. I mean,
okay, that's a big question.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, not particularly. I'm really honestly impressed with the slate of panels this year. It's so tightly packed that I found myself at a couple points trying to watch two panels at the same time, which my brain can handle for about 10 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, I need to stop this. But it's been great. Honestly, I was talking to some people last night about some of the panels, and one of the ones I was really surprised that it was more interesting than I expected it to be. Was the one about the piezo unionization. I expected it to be filled with a lot of like corporate, here's what we're allowed to say about this thing. And actually they talked a lot about, you know, what went on behind the curtain, which I thought was great because it really gave some insight into how that stuff goes on.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think we would have scheduled it if we hadn't gotten a sense that we were going to be able to actually have real talk.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, our panel coordinator, really, like, he was excited and determined to have that conversation, and I'm glad we did.
Mm-hmm.
Just me being a fangirl for a couple minutes, I am so impressed with how they handled the PR around the rollout. The fact that it was barely a whisper on the wind, and then all of a sudden they had this entire rollout that they had voted to unionize. They had an entire, like, it could not have been done more beautifully. And so credit where credit is due. Hi, Darla. Okay, Darla's going to tell us about her game.
In Dear Great Cthulhu, please stop giving me superpowers. You play a herald of the great old ones. You get superpowers. And you don't stop getting them. And not normal powers, like flight or telepathy. No, you can devour aquatic sand with your cilia. You can weep fungal acid from your teeth. You can fly with boiling fractals from your tentacles. You are part of a support group for heralds, part of a community, and the game is as much about community building and support as it is having powers. The game is powered by belonging. Outside belonging is completely diskless, and features mechanics to randomly generate well over 1 million different, unique superpowers. It is heavily based in metaphors about disability and queer community, specifically my experiences as a disabled trans woman.
That sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of fun.
And just
Brendan?
one of the best titles I've heard in a while.
Yeah.
It was a labor of love.
It's interesting because the title is so evocative. Everybody I know that has gotten a mental health diagnosis after, you know, young adulthood has this, okay, I can see where I've activated this. It is a superpower. It's also a curse. And why does it come with so many friends? And I like the title just lands that and communicates everything I need to know about the game in one sentence. So good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've found myself over the last year meeting a lot of new people locally and trying to explain to them how my neurodivergence makes me simultaneously really creative, but also creates a lot of barriers. And it is not an easy conversation for some people to understand. And as soon as I heard that title, I was like, oh man, I love it.
Yeah, I definitely spend a lot of time talking about the fact that they're blessings and curses, right? Like my dissociative disorder means that I can do really hard things, but it also means that sometimes I have to remember to reconnect to reality. I love it. Love it.
Darla, is this the one that you hand sent out right before Metatopia? Because I saw some mention of that.
193 emails.
Jeez. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Hi, darling.
Because it's Zeman system broke.
Which system broke?
Itch.io.
Oh no. Oh no, that's terrible.
That's a big problem.
I didn't even know that
Darla,
was an option on itch.io. I do like the bare minimum on there. But that's good to know that it's an option when it works.
Anya, would you like to introduce yourself and then I will introduce everybody?
Hello, I'm Anya. I play games, haven't been in Manitoba for a couple of years because money and then pandemic, but you know.
Money than pandemic. This is Darla. Darla uses a text-to-speech tool. This is a game designer who just released to backers a game called Dear. I'm gonna get it wrong. Stop giving me super. Jack, can you do it?
I think it's Dear Great Cthulhu, please stop giving me superpowers, or something very close to that.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Jack is a game designer who is doing our Making Trash for, games for fun panel later today.
Nice.
And Brendan is a game design student who is also interning with Double Exposure this season and helping with moderating a bunch of panels and is kind of an overall badass.
Sweet. Nice to meet y'all.
And then the bonus cat in the background here is Celeste.
Hello.
Darla, I saw both of your kitties. I saw the big kitty and the little kitty went through. Anne asks, are we going to get kitten cam? I'm in this room to increase the chances that people get a chance to see the littles, though right now 2/3 of them are out cold.
Yeah, if you look really closely, right?
The small one is a 14-week-old kitten named Mutstance.
Oh.
Yeah, if you look really close right here, this is Mr. Tibbs.
Hi, Mr. Tibbs. Hello, can I help you? This is cuter at this size than it will be when she hits 14 weeks.
Yes.
Cool. So Anya, is there anything you've played recently that you were really blown away by, or that you were really excited to share with people?
I am at a point where I'm not playing a lot right now, unfortunately. The game that my friends ran that got us through the pandemic wrapped up a few months ago.
Fair. What did you play?
It was a Fate accelerated game inspired by the Shin Megami Tensei / Persona series and the Fate / Grand Order whatever series kind of mashed up, where we were pulled in. We were a bunch of surprisingly heroic people pulled into a war for the fate of the world and universe.
Excellent. Like you do.
Mm-hmm. Like you do.
Okay, so Brendan Salem, what is his archetype if you were playing him in a game? Which game?
Oh god, Salem is a rogue. Salem causes problems constantly. Salem likes to sneak in and break things. So
they are not just to cause problems, but to cause problems on purpose.
Yes, like rogue, but also like bomber alchemist.
Excellent. Darla, what about your older kitty?
Oh. The flute would probably be a bard, but like a super buff one. He is huge and very friendly. I am pretty sure the kitten is actually his primary antagonist.
Excellent. Yep. Part of the reason behind getting kittens is because we have a 2-year-old who has become the primary antagonist for everybody else in the household. He comes glumping through and just like careens into the feline people, and they're just like, "Mother, please fix this. Please do something." So we're hoping that what we've done is gotten him some apprentices. Hi, Anne. Oh, hi, Anne's chair.
I'm here. I have stuff like just off screen.
Gotcha. Good morning.
Yeah.
So props to Anne. Anne stepped in yesterday because I said, holy crap, I've been trying to be in 3 places at once. And with no prep whatsoever, moderated a single panelist how to sell things to the UK panel and knocked it out of the damn park.
I realize in hindsight, I probably should have asked more about like UK specific stuff, because it is like one of the most like accessible markets for USians, but I had zero prep, so I was doing my best of being like, do I know anything about this topic? We will see shortly. Turns out the answer is yes, even though it's weird how in games you pick up skills that you're like, I never planned to learn this skill.
Right.
Did you follow up any of your questions with, all right, that was a really good answer, but let's try it again with this?
Yeah, so pretty much last night, somebody was just like, I need an elevator pitch. I'm new to games, and I'm like, okay, so we're gonna workshop it until we get you a good elevator pitch.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I will say they landed on a really good elevator pitch.
Like it was legitimately like, I was like, this is gonna take 3 tries, and on the 3rd try, I was just like,
excellent. That's fantastic.
Yeah, what they eventually settled on was, I want a game that makes you feel like when you get to the end of a book with a cliffhanger and you want to throw the book at a wall because you have to wait for the next book to come out.
Oh, that's good.
Right, and their game actually had like cliffhanger mechanics to end sessions. And I was like, that's a really good thing to pitch.
That's mean.
Well,
it's
Like,
about
that
young
is
adult
sort of
novels and the
terrible.
like relationships about it and decentering combat.
Jeez. Now I'm fascinated. I want to know what how they manifest the cliffhanger. And I, as a player, I would be so like delighted and angry.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think probably the like if anybody really is like, how do I elevator pitch? The big comment is going to be, go back and watch the multiple pitching panels last year. Because we end up breaking down absolutely everything you need to know, from the elevator pitch to the napkin pitch. I did a panel where I went into all the soft skills. So in addition to how to pitch, here's how you make your, what are they called? Here's how you make your business cards and everything like that. But if you want the TLDR version of it, it's going to come down to an elevator pitch is purely about pathos. How do you get a person emotionally invested? And we say 30 seconds, you technically have 10. Go.
Yep.
And I think you can hear, if you get an emotionally invested, it will not be an elevator pitch anymore. The problem is you get so many. So how do you get somebody in an overstimulated state invested in an emotional way when they don't have anything left to give?
Yep. And when there's 17 different things shouting at them at the same time.
I would hope during the elevator you get your moment of meditation in, which is the other combat of.
Yeah, hopefully you haven't gotten one of those 18-person elevators.
Yeah.
Especially not right now.
Yeah, right now that's hell.
We did a bunch of travel. We did Gen Con, then Origins, then Geekway to the West. And by the end of Geekway, I was getting on elevators and just standing at the doorway. And when the doors opened, I was like, sorry, no, I can't do elevators with humans right now.
That's very fair.
For the most part, people were like, good point. I'll see you at the bottom. So we heard about Anya's game that got her through the pandemic. Have other people played things recently that they were really enamored of, or that helped get them through everything outside?
So not so much. This is kind of weird. One of the people I knew back from college ended up becoming a professional poker player. And
Okay.
so I've been getting the rundown of what it's like to be a poker player in a realm where it's not run by gamers. Like when we have our poker competitions, it's going to be gamers playing gamer poker. But most people who show up are playing poker because it's a social game.
Yep.
And they're good against their friends. So they're like, oh, I can make big money. And so as all of a sudden, when you bring in all of the social deduction and statistical elements of the game into play, you have two different games happening at the same table, and one group is dramatically better than the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's also been just wild hearing about like what you have to do as a professional poker player. For example, like the requirements of the job is she just carries around about $8,000 in cash because you need it.
Right. Right.
And it's just like that. Who does that?
Who
Why
does
would
that?
you do that?
My ADHD ass would have to like walk around with it in my hand in an object and be like, I cannot set this down because
Yeah,
I would.
the suitcase handcuffed to your wrist here.
Yeah. Hold on, I need to detach my funds. Give me a second.
It looks like Darla has something to say.
Darla's working on typing it out on their text communicator.
Yep.
Jack, what about you?
I played over the last year. I played a ridiculous amount of online D&D, like pickup D&D through like kind of a shared living campaign, which was great. It's very easy. It was Wes March's campaign, which apparently is like a thing a lot of people do. It was a great way to like fill the time because my wife and I got COVID for the second time December of last year, and it was really rough. Yeah, it was. My wife is only just now getting her sense of taste back, like more than nothing. It's been rough. And so we went into lockdown, and we were like, if we get this a third time, like if it's even worse than the last time, like, so we basically like almost immediately after moving to Indianapolis, we just stayed in our apartment and didn't leave for any reason, didn't go and meet new people. And so like that was a great way to fill the time. We both, for Christmas, we both got Oculuses, which was not inexpensive, but considering all of our entertainment had to be confined to like the rooms we were in, it was actually like a really good expenditure of what capital we did have. And then lately I've been playing a game called Dream Crush, which is a board game dating simulator, where the goal is not to date the best person. The goal is to figure out who the other players at the table are going to be most interested in during any given round.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and so as you play, new stuff about there's like 3 characters on the board. New stuff about them comes up, like one eats with their mouth open, another one mispronounces supposedly, weird stuff, and it goes from like very innocuous stuff like that all the way up to this person doesn't wash their towels because according to them, when they get out of the shower they're clean already. Stuff like that. And so it's a bit social deduction, trying to figure out like, okay, do you care more that this person likes Joe Rogan and listens to all of his podcasts, or that this other person is really into mouse taxidermy? And it gets pretty bonkers from there.
That is, the mouse taxidermy is somehow the most acceptable of all of the
right.
Why is that not acceptable?
In and of itself, it's not unacceptable. It's just, look, we're a room full of people who are a step or 3 away from mundane. The mundanes would be creeped the fuck out by it.
Whereas all of us did the same thing with our face on the towel thing. We were all like, huh.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's from Mondo. I picked it up at Gen Con from the actual designer, who is just a pleasure to meet. And it comes with this massive stack of, you know, quality cards and character portraits that the game absolutely did not need to come with. One of the pictures in the game is Elijah Wood, presumably, looking like just the creepiest person you've ever met. So if you ever get a copy of this game, as soon as you see that particular portrait, you'll lose it, because there's I got into an argument with my friends. I was like, "There's no way that's Elijah Wood," and we looked up online, and I guess apparently the designer somehow knows this individual, and they played the game, and they were like, "Yeah, just add me like as one of the portraits." It's very weird,
That's funny.
but it's a great game. It's a really great game.
Mondo filed for bankruptcy, so if you want a copy
Oh,
of the game, people go find it. Yeah.
Oh.
I have a question.
Okay.
How important do you think it is to meet the designer before buying the game at a con?
No, to me, not very. I mean, like I enjoy meeting designers, and I enjoy, like, you know, finding out who's behind a game, especially as a designer myself. But if a game is really, really good, you know, I don't need to meet anybody to want the game.
Well, and I feel like if there was suddenly a cultural shift where people only bought games where they met the designer, it would exclude a ton of designers from selling really excellent games. So I hope that doesn't become a cultural thing.
I think my question is kind of coming off a little bit more harsh than I mean it to. It's not so much like, is it like that you have to meet the designer? It's more a case of like, when you're buying a game and, like, let's say you're down to 2 games, how much does that name recognition of, oh, I've met this person before, like, help you tip the scale in one way or another?
I will say, if I hear terrible things about the designer, or if I don't like, you know, the personality they put forward, doesn't matter how good a game is, I'm just going to take a pass. There's plenty of other games on the market. If they've got a great personality and they're really nice and welcoming and whatnot, yeah, it does kind of tip the balance a little bit, because I do enjoy being able to say, like, here's a game that we're playing, and by the way, the designer's super awesome. And, you know, I met Seppi, who makes a game called Cat, Mouse, Cucumber, Cheese. I'm probably arranging the order of those in the wrong one. It's a really tight kind of, it's hard to explain. It's a great game, particularly for 2 players. But I ran into him at Gen Con and mentioned, "Oh yeah, I saw you on a stream, and I immediately bought your game because I was super into it." And without saying a word, Seppi turns around, grabs a pin, which I think I've got right here, and is like, "Hey, here you go. Thank you for buying a copy of my game." And that's the cucumber from the game. I'm like, okay, well, if Seppi makes another game at any point, it's going to be at the top of my list, just because of such a great interaction.
That's amazing. Hi, Ben. Oh, hi, Kitty. Bonus Kitty. Darla, you were going to tell us about the game that you have played during the pandemic.
I started the pandemic playing a Princess World game. Princess World is incredible, a concise little PBTA game that is completely wild. Think She-Ra as an anime. Well, long story short, I am now dating the person who played my characters, rivals to lovers, nemesis/girlfriend. We've been running games back and forth. I ran bite marks, she ran thirsty sword lesbians, and now dungeon bitches. I love our dungeon bitches group. It is an immortal monster who has forgotten how to be human, a selkie out for revenge against the humans who kidnapped her sisters, and they accidentally adopted this teenage witch who was fleeing from the church. We just made friends with a giant spider woman after going on the world's most passive-aggressive dungeon crawl, because my selkie wanted to show the witch that it was easier to kill people and take their wallet than it is to dungeon crawl for loot.
I now want to design what can only be referred to as a passive-aggressive dungeon.
Yeah,
Is that Portal?
that's delightful. Just real quick introductions around Darla. Do you want me to hold on, or do you want me to come back to you? Hold on. Okay. Yep.
Well, it was like we ran into fungus skeletons. The witch says maybe we would go back. And the Silky says no, you wanted to go into a dungeon. So we're doing this.
Excellent. You got yourself into this. You're going to see it through, damn it. That's excellent. Oh, okay.
Is that like it's on your plate, so you have to finish it?
Yeah. Every last skeleton. And a few spiders too. So the conversation that we're having.
No.
My wife and I do some kind of experimental cooking projects here and there. And the phrase we've taken to saying to each other, even outside of that, is, you're an adult, you eat your mistake.
Excellent.
I learned the hard way. Make sure you've got the cinnamon and not the cumin when you're making French toast.
Oh dear.
We've been doing French toast Sundays for the last couple months. So, and we only make it by the loaf.
Oh.
Excellent. That's a lot of cumin French toast.
We finished our mistakes.
Excellent. So everybody, Ben is the mayor of Unpub and is a huge supporter of Metatopia and Double Exposure's efforts, and has done a lot to hold space for people and create space for people to join the conversation. And so I'm excited that you're joining us. Ben, this is Anne, who is part of the mod team for this weekend and is a med student in Las Vegas, and also is a LARPer and a community organizer. Anya is a gamer and a good friend, and is also a badass feminist. Darla is a game designer who has the best one sentence game title, which is, Jack's going to do it for me because I'm going to miss a word.
Dear great Cthulhu, please stop giving me superpowers.
I just made $35 during this con from Dear Great Cthulhu. Please stop giving me superpowers.
Hooray! That's amazing.
You don't need to introduce Jack. Jack knows me. I know Jack. For good or for worse.
And Brendan is a game design student who joined Double Exposure for Gen Con and is helping as part of the mod team for this weekend, and is awesome and super steadying. Like, if you need a rock for the team, Brendan's kind of unflappable.
You said yes, so now you're stuck. That's how Unpub works. So, yeah. And I just want to correct you, Avie. You said all that stuff about me, but you forgot the part where I'm no one of consequence at the end of the day.
Right. That's the story. Yeah. I'm not sure how many of us buy the story, but we've heard it.
I mean, I know I'm awesome, but in the grand scheme of things, everybody's awesome in some way.
Yes. Yes. So the fact that you hold space and lift up other people and give them room to find their awesome is the thing that I admire.
Darla was trying to say something.
Oh, hi, Darla.
You are actually the Dread Pirate, Roberts.
No, I'm not. But I have stayed on board a ship when the new Dread Pirate Robert showed up. That's all I can say about that.
The timing on that is particularly funny because the cats that I am surrounded by right now, their names at the foster were Inigo, Rugen, and Buttercup. We kept Inigo. Buttercup is now Celeste, and Rugen is Bishop.
So you went in expecting one and came out with three. Did you say as you wish?
Actually, kind of, yeah. Buttercup walked up to Vinny, looked up, and she was this big, looks up and says, meow. And he says, oh dear, and picks her up, and she passes out right here, which is how we ended up with three, not one or two. So yes, as you wish was kind of part of that scene.
If you see my hand do this, it's because the flump showed up and needed attention.
Nice.
She's in a different room somewhere right now. But...
Gotcha. So when you showed up, we were talking about games that people have been playing over the pandemic that have helped them get through. Do you have a game that you've played that has been really exciting or satisfying this pandemic?
The closest thing I have to a game is the somewhat daily game design prompt that I put out. And just the thought process behind that, and any response that comes to that. Now, we don't play games anymore.
Boo.
I mean, I'm gonna play Root for the first time on Monday with some people here in Philadelphia. We've been planning it, and it just never happened for like a year. But when I'm able to play games like in chunks and spurts, now that vaccines have happened and conventions are happening again with work travel, I've been able to see some people, to spend some time and get that refresher, because that's how I live and breathe, is with people.
Yep.
But yeah, the games are just what's on the table, and that's secondary to this. Metatopia as a whole, DexCon as a whole, Origins as a whole is secondary to hosting LobbyCon for me.
It's fair. Yeah. And this is as close as I'm going to get to LobbyCon this week.
I never
Lisa.
realized Unpub was Philly based.
Well, so Unpub was started in Delaware. Our convention happens in suburban Baltimore, but I took over as the director just as everything was going to garbage last year. Yeah. So I was officially supposed to start in June. When we canceled our show last year, we kind of made that it allowed that transition to happen a little early. So we've got people here in Philadelphia. We've got people, in Massachusetts that are part of our group. We've got, between our board and our advisory panel, we're all across the country, but we really are Mid-Atlantic based. Yeah. Like, we're hosting the space at PAX Unplugged, and I get to sleep in my own bed for that show. It's 20 minutes door to parking garage.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
So
everybody's...
parking in Philly is almost as expensive as a hotel room.
The garage I stay at is $20 for the day, but again, I'm not staying overnight.
That's
so
not bad. Right.
I would take the train if the train ran after 11:30 every night, because that's a 4-block walk for me from my house. Yeah, it sometimes it feels like it takes longer to get the donuts in the morning at Beeler's than it does to get to the convention center.
Yeah, I remember it was like, I was so spoiled when I was at my post-bac program. I was just like, oh, I'm so sad. Like, post-bac is so like overwhelming. I want to do a game con. And people are like, hey, PAX Unplug is like starting this year. And I'm like, oh, that's a month away. I should probably get on that. And I was at Jefferson, so I lived in Center City and Old City respectively for my 2 years in Philadelphia. So it was kind of a joke of like people just like having to scramble to like find places to stay. And I was like, okay, I have 5 people staying with me because like...
Yeah, we had 3 in 2019 that stayed at the inn. The year before we had 2. But I'm happy having the show here. So, but Avie, long story short, the game I play is get people to pay attention to me so I can talk to them about nonsense.
Excellent.
And I'm going for high score.
What nonsense?
I would like to introduce Lisa and pull Lisa into the conversation. Hi, Lisa.
Hi,
So
this is my
Lisa's
penguin.
part of the... Hi. Hi, Penguin. Does Penguin have a name?
Xavier.
Xavier. Hello, Xavier.
Penguin.
When I posted saying that we were inviting pets to come on to the stream and that we would talk about what class or playbook they should be, Lisa was like, well, what about stuffies? And I was like, I don't need your pet to be biological. It can be stuffy. We're fine with constructed people.
We love other
You can
people's
make it
cats, but Josh and I are both allergic to cats.
That's fair. Yeah.
And the cats know that, and they know that we love them, and they come right up to us. And then we fail our resist pet cat roll.
Yeah, yep. There's a particular gesture in this house that means I'm allergic and just petted somebody. Excuse me while I go wash my hands. Awesome. So if you were playing Xavier in an RPG, which RPG?
Well, Xavier's a professor, a German professor. So could be Call of Cthulhu.
Could be.
Or could be Over the Edge. A German penguin professor would fit right into Over the Edge.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great.
And I've got this right here is Nathan.
Oh, hi, Nathan. I see Nathan. Pretty.
Yes, Nathan is missing one of his forelimbs and used to be named Jesus.
That's dark.
He was rescued from a church garage with his two siblings, and they were named Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And Nathan at the time had a mangled leg, which had to be removed. So we changed the name. As fun as it was to call him Jesus for a little while, we eventually were like, no, we just can't keep doing this. And then in the little hut is Mr. Tibbs, and RPG wise, Nathan would probably be a barbarian, a stoic barbarian, because when he decides he doesn't want to go somewhere, the one forelimb that he does have can hold on to something like you would not believe. And then Mr. Tibbs would probably be a bard, but with like one charisma, because he wants to be social, but he is so socially awkward and doesn't know how to handle it. He does the like walk up to you like, maybe I want to be, no, never mind. I'm in the other room now.
Yeah. I have one goblin that loves being petted, but is terrified of hands. So you have to actually get her so that she doesn't see your hands coming at her. And it's very similar where she's like, I love, oh no, not you. So the pandemic created weird silver linings all over the place where it's like everything is on fire and everything is terrible, but also this good thing is happening because of it that wouldn't have had room otherwise. And I don't usually carve out time to sit down and play campaigns. I'm too on the go. I'm traveling too much. In 2019, I traveled or con prepped 26 or 27 weekends of the year. Right. So yeah. And then was shocked when the pandemic hit and I slept for 6 weeks straight. Like, I don't know, didn't understand how that happened. But I managed, because we were home and because I wasn't traveling, I had the opportunity to play in a Blades in the Dark campaign. And it's the first time in over a decade that I've actually played a campaign consistently and seen a character through an arc. And that for me has been deeply satisfying. And I play with a group that understands that you can explain the system to me 17 times, but I'm not going to remember the specifics of like when you're supposed to do which thing, but I will remember the spirit of it and be like, I don't think I'm doing this right. Someone rescue me. And so having a group that is just like, nope, we do not expect you to keep track of those things, but we understand that you buy into the conceit of the game has been really satisfying. Brendan, did we ask you what you've played?
We haven't, but I haven't played a lot of games. I'm DMing a Flat Earth D&D campaign, but I haven't. That was pre pandemic, so not
So a long
special.
time ago.
Yeah.
Since we've actually demonstrated that the pitch power of this particular panel has some weight, does anybody have a project they want to pitch? Darla's going to work on that. Yep.
I have been told that I need to start like actually getting the wheels working on a food LARP and cookbook combination. But we'll
That
have to
sounds
see. It seems
delightful.
like food LARPs are like mixed traction, so might not be a good Kickstarter.
Actually, I think Kickstarter is the right place for it, because
So-
you want people that are excited about doing it at home and having it at home. It's not gonna, like, if you manage to promote it through like streaming and actual plays and things,
Yeah.
that seems like the right place for it.
The reason why I'm hesitant is a really cool project, Suburban Consumption of the Monstrous, is currently kickstarting and it's currently struggling. Like it lost its traction, and it's currently in the dead zone of Kickstarter anyway. So like it still has the ability to fund, but everybody I was talking to expected it to do way better because of the power of the writers behind it and everything like that. And there just seems to be something that's not quite selling. So it's hard to tell exactly what that variable is. And I think it would be smart to isolate it before trying to do another food LARP thing.
Right. Interesting. I'm gonna drop the link to the campaign over into the chat. Cool. Jack, do you have something to pitch?
I mean, always, just tons of piles of stuff. Let's see. So here's a weird one. I wrote a play format for Magic the Gathering, which is booster versus booster, where you open your booster and the cards that you get are your deck. And it's super abbreviated. It's basically like you get whatever land you want, and then there's a bidding phase where you try to determine who goes first, and whoever is willing to discard more stuff gets to go first. So I could say, I'm willing to discard 2 lands. You might say, I'm willing to discard 2 lands and one of my cards in hand, and eventually you determine who goes first, and then it's like you have 5 health. It's played a few times with some very competitive players, like very, very well. But my God, like I don't know how to get in the front door with Wizards or any groups that do run like format play for Magic the Gathering in order to get this in front of the right person to just be like, look, like just play it once, just try it. Because I think there's some real juice to this thing that, oh.
I'll work on it.
Yeah. Drop a line into the Discord so that we remember to think about it afterwards.
Okay. I call it Jet Magic, which I think sounds pretty cool.
Darla.
My pitch game is called Redacted Office Simulator. Imagine a dungeon crawl, but in a weird office building. You aren't adventurers, you are the admin staff of a secret government agency tasked with managing the supernatural. Do your job, manage office rivalries, and then survive the horrible existential threats that breach containment on an almost daily basis. It is forged in the dark, with playbooks like The Office Goblin and The Exiled Scientist. Think SCP Foundation, the video game Control, that kind of thing.
So Control
Excellent.
meets The Office is.
Yeah. Maybe with a bit of Strauss's laundry thrown in.
Yeah, I'd play that.
It reminds me of there's actually a game that a PC game that just came out a little while. I think Going Under, and it's literally a corporate environment. It's designed to look like those really sanitized, like corporate friendly images of people with no discernible features. And you're literally like going into the lower levels of your corporate building and like fighting goblins and orcs and stuff. And it's like a procedurally generated thing, but definitely has like similar energy.
Excellent. Sounds delightfully terrible.
It uses a lot of random generation charts for tasks, threats, even your boss.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Especially good when something happens to your boss and higher management / the powers that be, where the lines between them is fuzzy and eldritch. It's like, all right, who's coming down from the office now? Oh God.
So I think a lot of D&D games have that sense of like the players can do stuff, and there's always that argument about like if the players do bad stuff or crappy stuff or they don't perform well, like there should be consequences for the players. I think you could definitely play with there are no consequences for the players. It's the manager above them that has to accept all of the consequences of what their subordinates do. And whether you like that manager or not really feeds into whether or not you want to do a good job. But if you do a bad job, it's not like they get fired. They just get saddled with responsibilities they don't want, or, they have to go out and pick up the dry cleaning for the CEO, like weird stuff like that. Like I could totally get on board for that kind of like I would love to see a game really indulge in that. There are consequences, but it's not for the players. And how do you get the players to really feel that impact and want to either do better or possibly do worse because they don't like their boss? Maybe everybody
throw the boss under the bus.
Right. Maybe everybody's job's protected. Nobody can get fired anyway. But deadlines can be shifted to make things very uncomfortable for your boss.
This sounds very bad place.
Yeah.
Ben, if somebody wants to find Unpub at PAX Unplugged, how do they find you?
We're going to be in the Skybridge again this year instead of back in like Tomorrowland. By the time you get there, it's tomorrow. So we're back in the Skybridge where we were in 2019 or 2018 and 17 and 18, because 19 is when we moved. So we'll be in the Skybridge, like where you're walking from the queue areas over the Marriott to the main hall. That's where we'll be. We've got 50 tables for designers. All that registration's up. You can get it through PAX Unplugged. We haven't had a single sign up for the Friday morning slots at all, which is weird. Which is super weird. Like I don't. It hurts my brain sometimes, but I was actually just looking to see how many were out there, and we're Friday night, Saturday morning look to be the heavy right now, but we've still got at least 20 spots in every single. And if somebody has any questions, if somebody has any concerns, they can email info@unpub.net, or they can email me directly, ben@unpub.net. We do have a buy-in charge just because we had 30 some no-shows a couple of years ago. Filled every spot with a designer, but we had 30 some no-shows, and it helps cover our costs. But if that's a concern for somebody too, I know a guy. Like that's never going to be the thing that keeps somebody from being there.
Right.
But yeah. So we'll be in the Skybridge again this year, which is
excellent.
Awesome with the traffic, and we'll be there till midnight Friday and Saturday with open play testing after those regular blocks. So I'm moving into that room for the weekend.
Avie,
I know nothing about what that's like. Yeah.
Do you have a panel starting in like 5 minutes?
I actually moved myself off of that panel.
Okay.
So Carla is going to manage that. Thank you for checking on me.
Oh, is that the 15 bird game panel?
Yeah.
I know about that. I've had that conversation about that panel before it was a panel.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just mourning. What panel is this?
It is the my game design went off the rails. So at Geekway to the West,
Yeah.
Carla was telling me that for people who didn't know, that she designed like 10 games about birds over the course of the pandemic. And I'm like, that's amazing. We're going to do a 12, because she's an Envoy member and I help her with her marketing. I'm like, we're going to do a 12 bird game package that's different games about birds. And she's like, yes, brilliant. I'm excited by this. And then her brain was like, wait, I don't want to think about birds anymore. I've been thinking about birds all year. So now I'm going to think about, and it shifted. It was dinosaurs and then it was cats. And so there's first of all, she did not realize that she had 10 games about birds until she was showing them to her cohort, who was like, why so many birds? So many birds. And then wait, now I can't actually land 2 more games about birds? Why? So, but I reached out last night and I was like, this is more exhausting than I remembered. Can you do this without me? And she's like, yeah, I can talk for an hour and it'll be on topic. Good job, me. So I removed myself and I have someone else running the tech.
And Carla's great. Carla runs a lot of stuff just weekly for whoever is willing to show up, and always does a great job with it.
Yep. That's Carla with Weird Giraffe Games if people are interested. And I think that people should go pay attention to Studies in Sorcery. And also I think Wicked and Wise, which is the Weird Giraffe's first trick-taking game, which is by the designers for Tessa, who was an IGDN sponsorship winner a couple years ago. So Metatopia is particularly fond of and loyal for Tessa.
And she's an advisory panel member for us too.
Yep.
Yeah, Wicked and Wise I'm super excited about, because I'm a sucker for a really good, unique trick-taking game.
Yeah.
Why can't people in gaming just do one thing? It always becomes like they do this and they do this, and now there's even more leadership.
Because there's a lot of us.
Because you keep saying yes.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we pivoted to Unpub over the pandemic, and where we just had a virtual show in August of last year because we wanted to do something. And it came together in less than 7 weeks, simply because people said yes. And now they've taken on other roles in the organization. So
the curse of competency. Once you demonstrate that you're competent, you don't get to back up.
Yeah, it's your punishment for being competent, is what I always say.
The reward for a job well done is a new job.
Yeah. Jack, have you seen this trick-taking game yet? I just got it in the mail yesterday.
No, I have not.
It's Daniel Newman designed it.
Okay.
And it's he and Tony Miller. So they're running a New Mill Games, which is kind of like a side project for them. It's very punk rock in their aesthetic. They're only printing 500 copies of their stuff.
Okay.
But this is a trick-taking game he'd been working on for a while. They kind of self-published it. They get all the components to Tony's house. Tony assembles it and sends them out to everybody. So
okay.
Next time we're actually in place together, I can bring it too.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll check it out. I actually just designed my first trick-taking game because I was always very picky about what I wanted to spend time on as far as a trick-taking game. And I had this idea for it's kind of like a collaborative trick-taking game meets 21, where everybody plays a card and you add up the total of all of the matching suits. But if it goes above a certain amount, that suit busts and then the next suit wins. But I didn't really have a good way of implementing it until I was doing some playtesting with somebody else on the virtual playtesting Discord that I'm part of. And they had their own set of basically poker cards that they created where the low number cards have 2 suits on them. And that like breaks the entire thing wide open and opens up a lot of opportunities for suit matching and whatnot. It means that the lower cards actually have more value in certain areas versus the higher cards. And so I reached out to him and I was like, I've got a trick-taking game. Can I just give it to you using your cards? And he was like, yeah, sure. And now it's part of like a little, like there's the set of the cards and then there's 3 games that we're kind of pitching as a micro set with the possibility of making more games.
Nice.
All right, it is 10 o'clock, which means we need to let Steve, our technician, go off to set up sound check for the next session. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If you would like to drop your social media contact and whatnot into the Discord, the Double Exposure Discord, I will make sure that I'm following everybody. And if you want to pitch one thing at me, and I will reshare it. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will
you.
see you all soon.